All right, hey, Vikings fans, welcome in to another episode of the Skol Hop. I'm Evan.
And I'm Austin.
We're just a couple of dudes from Iowa. We like drinking beer, talking about the Vikings.
Yeah, we do. And tonight we had yet another great beer from Big Grove Brewery. Tonight we tried the Wild Eddy West Coast IPA. I'm really excited for our listeners to hear our thoughts about that one.
Yeah, super good beer. We also talked about some of the basically brand new, as of like today, rule changes that are happening in the NFL. Pretty exciting times.
Yeah, how cruel of it for the NFL to release some pretty pivotal rule changes on April Fool's Day when you don't know what to believe. But other than that, the meat of our episode today is that we had a great conversation with friend of the show, Dustin Baker, and new friend of the show, South Spice, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we definitely had a great time with both of them. We hope that you'll check that part out, and we hope that you'll grab a cold one and join us.
Skol. All right, we just want to say a quick thanks to show sponsor Big Top Ventures for sponsoring today's episode. If you are looking to take a trip to an all-inclusive resort in Mexico or Jamaica, go ahead and send an email to our friends at Big Top Ventures. You can do that by the email address right below us here. It is bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com. Send them an email. Just say, hey, I'm looking to take a trip. Let them kind of know the dates you're looking for, and they will give you a quote for the best rate possible in any Mexican or Jamaican all-inclusive. I can personally attest to that. It is the best rate you can find. So yeah, step right up to your next adventure.
I haven't told you this yet, but
You didn't book.
I did.
No, you did not.
I did.
I do not believe you.
You don't?
I am so good with our friends at Big Top Ventures that it would have immediately come to me if you had booked.
I thought I could pull a quick little April Fool's joke on you.
For half a second, I was believing you.
I know.
I definitely didn't, and then I started to turn. You could probably see it in my face the whole time, but
That was
you
fun.
need to book.
I know. I'm working on it.
Have you been planning on
we're
doing
getting there.
that little...
Actually, no, that just came to mind while you were reading the ad. So
Yeah, for listeners, we are recording on April Fool's Day, so we've been dodging breaking news and jokes all day, left and right. I'm sure you've seen them as well. So
I've seen so many Aaron Rodgers to the Vikings.
Oh my gosh,
Makes
yeah.
me sick.
I'm so done with that. And watch it actually happen eventually too. But if it does happen, we can drown our sorrows.
Let's drink some beer. We've got another Big Grove beer. I think we mentioned it last week. Big Grove was generous enough to give us a whole bunch of beer, like a small flat of beer, essentially, and then some. It felt like it was kind of overflowing. So we're going to be trying some Big Grove beers here for the next couple of weeks. This week, we've got the Wild Eddy, which is a West Coast IPA, coming in at 7%.
Yeah, this is no joke. I believe I had tried this recently. I think it's included in one of their variety packs, because I'm a sucker for a good 12 pack of variety beers from breweries, especially Big Grove, and they have their Eddy pack, and I think this one was included in a variety of their Eddy pack. But now I'm kind of second guessing that because it's pretty new. The Wild Eddy is relatively new, so I don't know. Have you for sure tried this one or not?
I have not, but I would like to show you my pour. Look at that.
Yeah, look at this, man. Some would look at that and be like, what a terrible pour. There's so much head to that thing. No, that's a solid pour.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, you kind of get rid of some of the carbonation and get down to more of the beer.
It's just more of an aromatic experience, as if I know what I'm talking about. But you're supposed to have a little bit. Not to the point where you're just hard pouring. Some beers you do.
Well, like a Guinness or a stout, you just...
Yeah, or a nitro.
Yep.
But yeah, most beers, you got to respect it enough to let it breathe a little bit, especially IPAs. So without further ado, Skol.
Yeah, that's a solid IPA.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
Really citrusy.
Citrusy and hoppy. Yeah.
Yep. That's it. Those are the best ways to describe it.
They don't have a description on here, I don't think.
I think the closest they have to a description is on the side. They say bright and bold.
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
that's good.
That's a good description. A little hazy, but you can kind of see through it a little bit, which is not a bad thing by any means. Clear beers there's a place in the world for clear beers. This isn't super clear, but you're seeing through it more than some of our recent ones. Good head retention. Bright and bold, hazy, hoppy, citrusy. I like it. It's solid.
This is your type of beer. This is kind of right in your neck of the woods when it comes to beer. So
1000%.
What's your initial take?
Yeah, that's it. It's fantastic. I'm definitely an IPA guy, which I know that's not everybody's cup of tea, and that's perfectly fine. But yeah, if you are an IPA person, you have to give this one a try. It really reminds me of their Easy Eddy, which I think is like the base for most of these Eddies from Big Grove. But it's definitely different than the Easy Eddy. I'd say it's a little bit, and of course, I don't have an Easy Eddy right next to me to, totally compare it to, but I feel like this is a little bit, I don't know, tangier. Little more citrusy than the Easy Eddy. It's solid. It's a really good IPA. What do you think?
I like it. My initial thoughts were, before we even tasted it, I could just smell it. I could smell the citrus and I could smell the hops. And then that was immediately my impression after taking the first sip as well, was just, it's hoppy and it's citrusy. So if you like those things in a beer, give it a try. The other thing I like about this too is it's not trying to do too much. And you've heard me say that before. I don't like a beer that, tries to be obnoxious. Now, we've tried some quote unquote obnoxious beers, and I've never been upset with any of those. Like, I think of like the Crushberry Sour from Lionbridge.
Dude, that one, we need to try it again.
I was terrified to try that one. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be the beer that we hate. And it turned out to be really good.
Yeah.
But it's definitely one of those like out and left field beers. This is not that. This is just like straightforward, easy drinking. You can knock back a few of these, probably not more than a few because it's 7%.
Yeah, you just drink responsibly.
You want to be careful, I gotta work tomorrow, so I'm gonna be careful. But
this is definitely it's a summer beer to me. It's a nice light flavor, even though it is 7%. It's not like a boozy flavor,
No.
Which again, there's a place for boozy flavored beers, but yeah, this is just a solid IPA. I'm gonna have a handful of these over the summer. I was gonna say, like, if you're out on the boat or something, but maybe at 7%, you don't want to throw back too many of those if you're driving the boat. But yeah, if you're doing it responsibly, have a good time with these things.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's get into some of the more recent rule changes. The NFL coaches and owners are meeting right now, kind of this week.
Yeah.
Kind of their annual meetings, and with that they're making some changes that will affect our favorite team, of course, and so I figured we could kind of talk about some of these rule changes, just kind of as a warm-up, because eventually we're going to get the privilege of talking with Dustin Baker and Sally Spice.
So I'm really excited for that. But so some of the rules that were proposed were kind of crazy. Something about the Lions proposed a rule where the offense wouldn't get an automatic first down if the defense committed a defensive pass interference, or maybe just like a defensive hold on a receiver. There's something to it, but that didn't go through. There's another rule proposed, I think, by the Packers to ban the tush push, or at least make drastic changes to it. And I think that one didn't get totally struck down, but it got tabled until the owners will have another meeting kind of like this, I believe in like July or August, right before the season happens. But yeah, there were a few, I think, 3 rules that officially got passed for this upcoming season. What are they, Ev? Yeah,
so the first one has to do with overtime, and they're essentially just aligning the overtime rules with the playoffs to the regular season. So regular season and playoffs have been different up until this point, and now they're aligning. So basically what that means is both teams will get to possess the ball in overtime now, whereas in the regular season, in previous years, if the first team to possess the ball scored a touchdown, the game was over. But if they scored a field goal or didn't score, then the other team got the opportunity to possess the ball as well. Now both teams will possess the ball. So a touchdown from the first team with possession means that they kick off and the other team gets a chance to possess the ball, and we'll have to score a touchdown then to keep it tied and continue playing.
Yeah.
Which I like.
Yeah.
And then they also cut overtime from 15 minutes to 10 minutes, which I also think is okay. In the regular season, I think it sounds like they're going to stick with calling games as a tie if they end with the same score after the 10-minute overtime period. And I think that's okay. It's pretty rare. I don't think I don't think there was a tie in the 24-25 season.
It's not crazy to see a tie once or twice a year, but it's also not crazy to not see a tie. So I can't think, I mean, I might be wrong, but I can't think of it happening in this 23-20 or the 24-25 season. But the Vikings just had a tie in recent memory. I don't know if it's happened for KOC, but in one of Mike Zimmer's last couple of years, they had a tie. Maybe at least
2019
once. Something I believe like it was with the Packers. But I think you're right. This rule will probably lead to a couple more ties throughout the year, a shorter overtime, and then guaranteeing, both teams get a possession. That just means there's more opportunity for that 10 minutes to end with either the same score or, it would be the same score. I meant either one team scoring or no team scoring. So
it was the 2018 season.
Okay.
That, there was a tie. That was the last time the Vikings had a tie.
Is that famously... that might have been the tie before that Donovan McNabb in the media was like, I didn't even know teams could end in a tie. It's like, dude, you played for a long time in the NFL.
Time before that was 2013.
Yeah, it might have been then that McNabb was like, holy, I didn't know you could finish in a tie.
But I definitely agree with you with the shorter overtime. There could be a few more games that end in a tie. I think of the Vikings and Bills from 3 seasons ago. Was it 2 seasons ago or 3 seasons ago?
The greatest game ever.
Yeah. That game came down to the wire. I mean, it literally, I think, a last second field goal.
Well, that one ended off of an interception.
The Pat Pete, right?
Pat Pete interception in overtime. But it was coming down.
It was I think less than a minute left in overtime, and had the Bills scored, the Vikings probably wouldn't have had a lot of time to go down the field and score again. So all that to say, the 10-minute overtime period will probably have an effect on a lot of things for sure.
I'm for it. And ties are not a bad thing. I mean, it's not a good feeling when your team ties another team. Sometimes you'd almost just rather a loss. But you know what? I'm for it. If there's a few more ties throughout the league, let's go.
And I think it makes things interesting when you get into the playoffs too. Like, there's not the clear cut they clinched. It's it's coming down to week 17, week 18, probably eventually a week 19, because I think we're headed that way.
Yeah, and this rule specifically is one thing that kind of screwed over the 49ers in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
not this previous one with the Chiefs and the Eagles, but the one before, I believe, with the Chiefs and the 49ers. The Niners weren't too privy on that overtime rule, and they kind of made the wrong choice in receiving the ball in overtime, and they kind of let the door open for the Chiefs to score and win the game. So now there shouldn't be any confusion. It's the same rules overtime for postseason and regular season, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I like it. The next one is replay assist. So I think there are a lot of little things involved with this under the umbrella of replay assist, but it sounds like the video official can tell the officials on the field to pick up a flag if a flag was errantly thrown, I should say it that way.
You're the English teacher, dude.
If the flag was thrown in the wrong way or at the wrong time. I'm not articulating that very well. That's okay. Man, these 7%.
Yeah, these 3 sips are already getting to us.
No, if a flag was thrown that shouldn't have been thrown, the video replay assist official can say, hey, pick that flag up. That wasn't a flag.
But importantly, they can't go the other way. Video assist cannot say, hey, you missed, even though you were staring right into Sam Darnold's beautiful eyes, you missed that he was ripped down to the ground by his face mask. You need to throw a flag there. The refs can't, or the video assist can't do that. But if you've heard me talk about officiating in recent episodes, I've kind of said the idea that eventually the NFL is going to be in a very good state of like a perfect marriage between on the field refs and, officiating up in the sky. And it'll be something that we look back on like, holy cow, do you remember all those terrible calls? Thank goodness they finally have a really good system. It's not perfect, but it's really good. And this rule to me is one more step towards that idea. I think officiating, what am I saying? Officiating fairly.
Yeah, I definitely think you're right. I also think this is going to produce a lot more flags. The refs on the field are going to throw a lot more flags, knowing that they've got somebody that backs them up. That if they make the wrong call, just pick it up. Nope, that wasn't pass interference. Pick it up. Nope, that wasn't a hold. Pick it up. I don't know what penalties it all applies to. I think it applies to certain ones.
Yeah, I think so. But it's the good ones. From what I could read earlier, I feel like this is a good rule.
I could see it on the defensive holding where they're like within 5 yards, because that gets a little red. That's a rule, right? Like within 5 yards.
It's like illegal contact something like that outside of or beyond 5 yards for like a cornerback and a receiver.
And I could see that being tough for an on the field official to see, especially when they're trying to see everything happen at once. They've got to watch this, they've got to watch that, and they got to watch, okay, he hit 5 yards. I can't split my attention across that many things when the play's happening like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. It only makes sense because it helps the game be called correctly. And as long as it's not a situation where they're stopping the game every 5 minutes for 5 minutes. I think technology and common sense has caught up enough that they can make the right call in, an efficient amount of time, and nobody should be complaining about this.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I do think it'll be an adjustment too. Like, I don't think it'll be perfect this season.
Yeah.
And we know this about the NFL. Officiating will be controversial. It always has been, and it always will be. But I think that's just the nature of playing at the highest level in the world and playing a game that people are absolutely passionate about. Like
almost too passionate about.
Like we're sitting here recording a podcast about the sport. The same can't be said necessarily for other sports. They can be a little bit, but I think football just kind of lives in its own stratosphere that way.
Absolutely.
So,
so there's one more rule, I think, that was changed officially. Other ones were either, totally struck down or tabled for, the upcoming meeting. But the last rule that was changed specifically, which one was it? Was the kickoff
rules were just made permanent, right?
Yeah. So in 2024, they changed it to the whole kind of new kickoff where the kicker was kind of out on an island alone, and then the blockers were all much closer to the returner, but they couldn't move until the returner fielded the ball.
Yep. And then there was the drop zone, and touchbacks were still a thing, but the ball was spotted farther up the field for a touchback than it ever has been in the past.
So now they made that permanent, as permanent as, a changeable rule can be made. But they also made it so that a touchback goes to the 35-yard line.
It was the 30 this year, right? Yeah. And now they've moved it up even further.
Which I think incentivizes kicking teams to kick a returnable ball.
Yep.
Rather than boot it through the end zone every time. So I don't know.
What do you think about yards?
Yeah, what do you think about this rule?
I like it. I liked the new kickoff rules. I thought it would be weird at first, but once we started watching games, I was like, no, this works. This is functional. 2 or 3 weeks into the season, it was it was like, yep, that's normal now. And it was a little weird then, watching college football and having to kind of switch back and forth. And then I went to a few high school games too, and it's like, those actually seemed weird compared to what the NFL is doing now. So I wonder if those changes will trickle down into the lower levels of football eventually. Yeah. That would be interesting to see. But I think for the NFL game specifically, I like it, and I think it protects players a lot more than it has, which has always been the name of the game, is just player safety. And it also I think it adds strategy. Rather than telling your kicker just go out and kick it as far as you can and kick the snot out of it, try to kick it through the uprights or whatever, there's now strategy. Like, no, I don't want you to do that. I want you, like, your coach can scheme and let's see if we can drop it right at the 5-yard line and make them return it and see what happens.
It adds a whole nother whole extra aspect for a kicker to show off, not just his booming leg, but his precision too. And then there is an area for strategy. There's going to be some team, I'm sure there were last year, that like figures out like, oh, I didn't even think if you kick it to this exact spot, then it's like statistically way better for the kicking team. I don't know, I'm just making something up. But I think visually you're right, it did look really weird, and I think for that reason the media really tried to hype it up more than anybody else. I don't remember having strong feelings last year about, no, they can't change the kickoff rule. Like, ultimately the end result of the play was always pretty similar. And if it helps keep guys more healthy, cuts down on concussions, I'm all for it, and it doesn't really change that much. So I mean, I'm all for really the NFL trying really anything, even down to teams trying out a new uniform. Like, let's tweak it up, and if it works, sweet. If it doesn't, go back to what it was or figure out the right answer.
I think they did decide that teams can wear their throwback uniforms up to 4 times a season now.
Well, not just throwbacks, but like just any kind of alternate. Which is pretty awesome. Cool.
That may have like affected the Vikings' decisions to wear like those winter whiteout at the end of the season as opposed to something else.
What was it? Was it like 2? Like, or it was certainly more than 1 time a season.
Yeah, I think it was maybe 2, and the Vikings used it to wear the 60s throwbacks early on in the season with the Bud Grant patch on it, and then they wore the winter whiteout ones at some point at home in like December or January or whatever.
I think our episode that the Vikings played the Bears and wore the winter whiteout, did we live stream? I know we recorded that episode with a friend of the show, Forrest, and I know we were doing it from our own houses. I don't remember if we live streamed. Either way,
I don't remember either.
I think the nature of the way that we recorded that, we didn't really talk about what we thought about those Winter Warrior jerseys. What do you think of those? I
liked them. I thought this year's iteration was better than last year's. And I'm all for the Vikings continuing to try it. And I think now that there are more games to mess around with that, as granted by the league, I think we might see more of that, or see more of like those throwbacks. I would love to see the 90s era, the Chris Carter, Randy Moss era of jersey come back. I think that would be sweet.
Yeah, those were pretty slick. But if you want to imagine like a modern version of those, it's pretty much just the Chiefs uniforms, just purple and with a horn on the helmet instead of...
It still looks
but
cool.
They're clean. They would have looked really nice. Those 90s era would have looked really nice with the Nike cut. But the Winter Warrior ones I really like a lot. Last year, the 23 seasons version of those was pretty much just their away jersey with their home pants and their helmet normal. But the way they iced out that whole uniform, sick.
This year was better for sure. And I'm looking forward to what they do with it this coming season too.
And this offseason, I plan to DIY like a spray paint my own, helmet with the decals of the Winter Warrior helmet logos and everything. Nice. So stay tuned for that. We'll be recording some content around me making my own Winter Warrior helmet. That'll be pretty fun.
So obviously the helmet thing is pretty minor, or the uniform thing, I guess we would say, is pretty minor. But another thing that's interesting, and it's not necessarily NFL related yet, but I
think it is.
I think it will be.
I think they've made an announcement.
Oh, have they?
I think so.
So,
well, say what you're gonna say, and then I'll look it up.
The UFL. I was watching the UFL over the weekend, and they debuted some ball spotting technology. I think of the infamous Josh Allen play from this last season, where he was, this close to getting the ball across the marker for the first down, and video replay kind of seemed to indicate that he made it, but the refs on the field said he was short and he didn't get it, and whatever. And so the UFL debuted kind of a digital ball spotting technology with a chip in the ball and the lines on the field. And I don't know how accurate it is yet. I saw some tweets that were kind of making fun of its accuracy and how bad it was. But it's a step in the right direction. If we can watch tennis where the ball lands here and we can see a digital replay of the ball landing right here and it's in or it's out and we can see it clearly, then we should be able to pinpoint the location of the football. It's a first down or it's not. Exactly.
So I did look it up, and it is April Fool's Day today, so you got to protect yourself with every piece of information. But according to ESPN, their NFL on ESPN's Twitter account, they said the method for changing first downs in the NFL will switch from chain gangs to camera-based technology in 2025, the league announced. The traditional chain gang crew will remain on the sidelines as a secondary option. So this is a little bit different. It'll just be like a visual, is the way this tweet is making it sound. Not so much like the UFL's, like, I believe they use like tracking chips and in the field technology, I think is what you're saying. So this is a little different, but at least they're trying something, and at least there'll still be the chain gang, so it won't get worse than we're all used to.
And I think we've seen the UFL and its predecessors like the XFL and the USFL, the like more recent iterations of those things. They've been kind of the testing ground for the NFL. And I don't know if there's an official agreement there or not between the leagues, but we have seen, like, the kickoff rule, for example, was kind of piloted in the UFL, and now we see it in the NFL. And we've seen this ball spotting technology in the UFL. I wouldn't be surprised if we see it in the NFL before too long.
Yeah, if it works. And if it, just like the overtime rules and the replay assist rule, if it enhances the game and makes for a more efficiently called game, let's go. Let's do it. Who cares if it's adding technology? If it makes the game better, let's do it.
Yeah, I think we've both been saying it, you more so than me, but there eventually will hopefully be this perfect marriage of human and artificial intelligence that can call an NFL game and make it pretty good.
The RoboCop of the NFL. Yeah. We have the technology. Let's do it.
All right. Well, those are the rule changes. Obviously, that's not super Vikings related, but it does affect the Vikings.
Oh, yeah. It definitely affects the league as a whole.
So it'll be interesting to see
how the Vikings will find a way to lose a game specifically because of one of these rules this year. So it'll be the most Vikings thing ever.
The most Vikings thing ever. Hot take. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up this segment. And when you see us again, you're going to see us hanging out with a friend of the show, Dustin Baker, which it's been a few weeks since we've had him on.
It's always too long between episodes. Yeah. We try to do it monthly, but it ends up being like every 5 to 6 weeks. So, and to his credit, he's the one that usually is like, hey guys, you ready for me to come back on the show? So he's a really good friend of the show. And Sal Spice, he's bringing her along to join the party this week. So that'll be really exciting.
Yeah.
The first time that we've had a new guest in a long time. I'm trying to think of the last time we've had a new guest. Oh, well, Leighton was a new guest. We had
Leighton Glodek a couple weeks ago, about a month ago, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be good to have a fresh face and hang out with them.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Next time you see us, we'll be with them.
Skol. All right, welcome in, Skol Hoppers. So as we said, we've got friend of the show, Dustin, on yet again. Welcome in, Dustin. Thanks for coming on.
Hell yeah, I brought Sally with me.
Yeah, thanks for doing that too. Sally, thank you for being... How many guests are we on up to at this point? It's not a ton, but we're starting to rack up a good amount of guests on our show. So Sal, thanks for coming on. We always love a new face, and you're great for coming on, so thank you.
Oh my gosh, yes. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored. Yeah. Dustin was like, "Hey, want to join me?" Of course. Me and Dustin are old pals, but yeah, I'm happy to be here, you guys, and get to know you and Skol.
Yeah. Yeah, Skol. Well, thanks for coming on. Dustin, our listeners, if they don't know you yet, then that means they haven't been listening to us for very long because you've been on for quite a while. You're on Twitter or X at Dust Baker. I think we can even put that up on the screen, or we'll put it at least in the show notes. People know you from Vikings territory and Vikes Now on YouTube. Sal, you and Dustin, like you said, you go way back. You've been. I used to follow a show that both of you were on previously with a former Viking, and that was really good. And it suddenly took a nosedive once you guys stopped being on there. I don't know about that, but you do Scolders and Spice, and you actually just had Dustin on your show recently, last week, right?
Yes, I do a show called Scolders and Spice. It is on the Vikings First and Skol network, which Tyler Fornes also has a show there. And then my guy Dave has a couple shows there. He's been in the biz for so long. He's been Vikings blogging since the beginning of blogs. So he's awesome as well. And yes, Dustin is actually a monthly guest on my show because we go back for so long. I always got to have him on. And yeah, that's the scoop.
Awesome. Well, we would love to give you guys a chance to plug whatever you want to plug towards the end of our time here. But for now, I'd say we just dive right into it. Yeah. Good to go?
Yeah,
okay.
Let's do it. So I've got a question. Either one of you can kind of chime in on this one here. Obviously, as we've kind of hit this lull a little bit in the free agency off-season kind of timeline here, kind of pre-draft. The news has come out, I think even before free agency kind of really picked up, that the Vikings got a comp pick for Kirk Cousins. And then, of course, with the departures of Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones, there's the talk of, more comp picks, probably not this year, but next year. My question for you guys is, do those comp picks even matter? Given Kwesi's draft history, he's kind of known more for his free agency prowess than he is for his ability to draft really high-quality players. So what do you guys make of that, and do those comp picks matter a whole lot?
Oh, they certainly matter. I think right now Kwesi Adofo-Mensah has a bad reputation based on his first maiden voyage draft, which has not worked out whatsoever, and in fact the butt of jokes, mainly because of Lewis Cine and Andrew Booth, and that's deserved. But in 2023, Jordan Addison came aboard, and he's played quite well in my estimation. And then last year, you have McCarthy and Dallas Turner. One of the cornerbacks passed away in a tragic accident, so I think most of the evil that we send towards Kwesi Adofo-Mensah is derived from the 2022 class, and I don't think that just means he's an eternally shitty drafter of talent. So yeah, those comp picks absolutely matter. If you look at this year, they'd be really in trouble without the Cousins comp pick, which is number 97. Next year, they're lined up to have probably the same pick, because Darnold left at the top of the third round compensatory, so around 95, 96, 97, and then a fourth or fifth rounder, depending on Daniel Jones's snaps. And then they could also get a third if Trent Sherfield has 30 receptions and plays 40% of the time in Denver. It's kind of a long shot because he's a special teams guy, as we know. But no, I am not in this big poo-poo on Kwesi camp because he had one bad draft. If you go back and look at Howie Roseman's track record when he started in 2010, 2011, he didn't have these dazzling drafts out of the gate. We actually had pretty shitty ones to start. So yeah, I think it's an overblown fear, anxiety to say Kwesi can't draft. Of course, you'd like for him to have one of these classes that really nails it. But yes, comp picks are ultra important, and they even talked about it at their press conference last week.
I gotta agree with you, especially for the limited draft capital that they're working with. Obviously, that they don't get those extra draft picks that you guys mentioned until next year. However, Kwesi doesn't seem to be too worried about it. I believe I saw a quote from him from a couple days ago where he said, "Oh, you can turn these picks into 15 picks easily." So he didn't seem too worried about it. I personally I remember that 2022 draft. Just my head was freaking spinning. Like, what is happening here? Like, who did they trade? Okay, traded with this. Okay, they're trading again. They're trading again. I think they'd made like 3 trades in a row before they even picked up anybody at one point in those mid to later rounds. And trading within the division, trading with Detroit, trading with Green Bay. I'm like, what the heck is happening? My head was spinning. So I would just from a sanity standpoint, I would hope that something like that doesn't happen. But yes, of course they matter. Agreed that, the 2022 draft was super bad. I actually did a TikTok series on it a couple months ago where not only did I do all of the trades, but I did what all of the trades turned into for those other teams. And it wasn't great, from the Vikings standpoint. But I don't think we can hold that against him. And the compensatory picks, especially for the guys that we're talking about here. I mean, Sam Darnold, that obviously makes sense. Well, I don't know, on a 1-year deal, maybe not. But the other two, to be getting picks for that is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think we shouldn't discount that 2022 draft, though, because that first-round pick is a current Super Bowl champion.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
No, but I am in the camp that I think maybe these comp picks are a little overblown. Dustin, I think recently you've kind of come out and said something about the QB2 spot and how it's like, guys, we're putting too much into this QB2 spot. I think kind of a similar way, like, we're putting too much into these comp picks. Like, yeah, you're right. That extra third-round pick is nice, and I think it's the highest of the comp picks this year that were given out at the end of the third round. So that'll be really nice. But at this point, my thoughts on Kwesi, I'm a Kwesi fan. I think he's the right GM for the Vikings. But if you told me he traded away all of the draft picks, I'd trust his moves and who he got more than who he would draft, because I think at this point Jordan Addison is about the best draft pick, which, oh no, a borderline Pro Bowl wide receiver is only the best draft pick that he's got so far. But that's about it. And if you read VikingsTerritory.com, there's a recent article talking about how the Vikings just need to trade away Jordan Addison anyways. So,
not what it said, my friend.
Well, maybe our listeners should go check that article out and get their own opinions. But yeah, I think at this point, I'd trust more the free agency moves from Kwesi than his draft moves. It's not really something we can have to dive into right now, but I think the Vikings won't even have a first-round pick this year. They'll probably trade down and get more picks. Sal, you mentioned how Kwesi said something like, we can always turn 1 pick into 5 picks. Kwesi said that in one of the videos. 15, sorry. But last year, in one of the videos the Vikings put out in the draft was after they traded up and made all those traded all those picks for Dallas Turner. Kwesi kind of told the war room, like, don't worry guys, we'll get back into day 2, and then they never got back into day 2. So we'll see. I think Kwesi's the guy, but the draft for me is not anything I'm hinging on right now.
I would be right there with you on the compensatory. Like for some Twitter accounts, it's like personality defining. Like, oh my god, what about the comp pick? But right now, if they just signed some moron, that would screw up a potential 4th rounder. So the way that they've orchestrated it, so that they've got this blissful free agent class, and then as gravy, a 3rd rounder for sure, and then a 4th or 5th rounder. I think the reason you kind of want to safeguard it right now and not go sign Drew Lock at this very moment is because that would cost you. It would be Drew Lock for a 4th rounder. That's basically what it would be. Therefore, you still have this, I guess, 4th wave of free agency coming up after the draft, when you can sign guys pain-free. You don't have to worry about the compensatory pick formula. So if you believe the Asante Samuel rumors from Score North, if you want them to sign Drew Lock or any quarterback that's out there, Will Hernandez is a guard, Brandon Scherf, those guys can get got after the draft. And so right now it's just a matter of timing. It's not remember last year when they signed Shaq Griffin?
Yeah.
There was a tangible fear that wiped out a 3rd or a 4th round pick. Now, I don't know if that was ever proven, but that's an example of where we're at right now. You don't want to go sign some 3rd string offensive guard and have that cost you next year's 4th rounder. So I think that is where we get a little gatekeepy about the comp picks.
Well, and we kind of saw that play out last year as well, not just with Shaq Griffin, but also Stephon Gilmore. I think ultimately his contract, if he would have signed the same contract with the Vikings, day one of free agency, that probably would have factored into the comp pick.
Yes, absolutely.
Equation for this year. And that was a little bit different because that was after the tragic, death of the rookie, and so they had an immediate need that they didn't really know that they were going to have.
And Mekhi Blackman's ACL.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah,
he's kind of like a sprinkle on top of the cornerback room this year.
Everything about Kwesi's draft acumen is going to first of all just boil down to JJ McCarthy. If he hits and he is this top 8 guy like we think he can be, nobody's really going to give a shit too much about Kwesi's draft class from 2022. And then Dallas Turner, and then Mekhi Blackman's coming back from the torn ACL. And if he's good, that'll be another feather in Kwesi's cap.
That is true. Our opinions of Kwesi's drafting ability could turn 180 degrees real quick after this year. Speaking of the draft, do you guys think there's a potential for the Vikings to get a starter out of this draft, one of the 4 picks, or however many they end up with in the end? And if they do, what position? Is it the first-round pick that they're going to get, or is it going to be something like an Ivan Pace Jr.? I mean, he was undrafted, but something like a later-round guy that turns into a starter somewhere. What do you guys think?
I would certainly like to think so. I think if they do, I'm in the camp where I also don't think they will end up having a first round pick. I think it's much more likely that they will end up trading back. I think probably I would like to see them draft a corner. I think we pretty much all would. Instead of doing this plug and play where you get somebody for a year or 2 years that's past their prime, and get some consistency there. And hopefully they could maybe step in and play. I think that would be maybe the most likely. That's obviously the most dire position of need, in my opinion, anyway.
The question you're talking about, like a day one starter, because we all hope
like
that
a starter on the team. Yeah.
Well, we all hope that no matter
job starter. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we're talking about somebody who can start like this September, I think there's only a couple options because all the holes have been filled in free agency. So I wrote about on Vikings territory last week that Jahdae Barron kind of, to me, feels like a hinge at pick number 24. If he falls there, he is a guy that I think you cancel your trade back plans, you stick and pick at 24, and I think that guy would have the juice to oust Isaiah Rodgers, for example, as the CB2. And then at offensive guard, today Kevin O'Connell talked about how if the season started tomorrow, Blake Brandel and Michael Juergens would be in the mix to start at left guard. So if we're having that type of conversation in early April, then left guard might be a draft need. So I think Gray Zabel, if he was drafted at pick number 24, or even if you traded down a few picks and still got him, he could start day one in Blake Brandel's spot. Otherwise, trading back into round 2, possibly getting Siobhan Revell, a cornerback. If his ACL is good to go, he's a dude that could start day one. But overall, because Javon Hargrave's on this team, Will Fry, all these sweet free agents that they signed, the starting trajectory for a lot of the draft class would be in 2026 because, if you draft Walter Nolan, he's probably not going to take Javon Hargrave's job, in August. And we don't want him to. We want the depth like the Eagles had. So I'd say Jahdae Barron, Gray Zabel, and possibly Siobhan Revell if you want a week 1 starter.
Interesting. Evan, you got any thoughts? Like even a position that maybe it's weak, they could get a starter at that position?
I know. I think, Sally, you're onto something there with the cornerback position. That's obviously the spot where I think there needs to be something. I think it's a later round pick. I don't know that it's that first rounder. I don't know that we're sitting here talking about this blockbuster, first round pickup that's going to start for the Vikings. And obviously things are kind of murky in that cornerback room as well. Like we just don't know yet what that's going to turn out to be. And, you're waiting to see, how healthy is Mekhi Blackman? Is he going to come back fully healthy? Stuff like that. So, no, I would expect if there's a starter to come out of the draft, it would be at that cornerback position. That's where I'm at right now.
I got to name drop the 2 safeties really quick. I forgot them. Malachi Starks from Georgia and Nick Emanwari from South Carolina. There's a world where one of those guys, even though we're like, I don't want Kwesi drafting a safety, there's a world where one of those guys could instantly start over Theo Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we get a break? God.
Yeah. Dustin, I think I agree with you. I think that left guard spot might be the easiest route for a rookie to come in, especially if it's a first rounder to come in and take a starting job. I think Blake Brandel, he's a big dude. He's good, but he's not like crazy awesome. He's not a Will Fries. But I think he would be a better fifth or sixth offensive lineman than even Dalton Reisner has been the last couple of years, which to me is kind of saying something. I mean that as a compliment to Brandel. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know. It'd be awesome to get a starter out of this draft, but again, I just said I don't really care too much about the draft. Kwesi's done everything he needs for me to be happy in free agency.
So next question here for you guys. We'll kind of step away from looking towards the future and take a moment to look back. The Vikings won 14 games this last season. And admittedly, I'm more of the ESPN guy than you are. I'll come home and watch SportsCenter, Round the Horn, PTI, whatever.
No free advertisement, man.
Other than like the Aaron Rodgers rumors of, a possible, fulfilling the prophecy, Brett Favre, that whole thing. The Vikings really haven't gotten a lot of attention from the national media. Why is that? Why haven't the 2024 Vikings really struck a chord with these big talking heads that are on TV every day talking about all the other teams, the Lions and the Chiefs and all these other really good teams, and yet the Vikings won 14 games and don't get talked about a whole lot. And I would add too, like, are generally picked pretty low in their own division, and don't seem to have the favor of these talking heads to do super well this coming season. What's up with that? What do you guys make of that?
I would say certainly. I don't know. Can we cuss on here?
You're fine.
I would say certainly shit in the bed in the playoffs and the week before that certainly don't help that narrative at all. I think that probably plays into a national media who isn't watching every minute of every game that, hey, they really did overperform there. They defied expectations, but maybe they really weren't supposed to, because when the bright lights came on, look what happened. Mm-hmm. I think also with all of the free agent acquisitions, while they are great, there's no evidence or footage of how they're going to actually mold together and perform together. So there's a lot of unknown there. A lot of unknown at the quarterback position with JJ McCarthy. How is he going to perform in the NFL? And then, of course, all the rumors and all of that as well. And I think, of course, it does seem like the media does favor the Lions, especially the last few years. I don't think that that's necessarily wrong for them to do. So, yeah, I think that there's a lot of factors there. Maybe also they're just saving it because they know if Aaron Rodgers does go there, that's all they're going to be talking about until the end of time. So, let's hope there could be a lot of things going on, but I think probably it mostly has to do with a lot of there's not any evidence yet of what all of these new acquisitions are going to look like together. While on paper it looks like it's going to be great, you don't actually know yet.
For me, and we all lived through the Kirk Cousins era, I think how most experts or even Vegas, when they assign a over-under for wins right now, it's 8.5 for the Vikings.
Yeah.
They look at QB1 and they make the determination from there, while acknowledging a little bit of the depth chart. So with Cousins, habitually, it was 7.5 games, with no wiggle room. And now with McCarthy, it's, boosted to 8.5. So I think what the world sees is, oh God, JJ McCarthy, that's the guy that won a championship in Michigan, right? Yeah, that's him. I bet you he'll be okay. And everybody on the show is in the echo chamber of Vikings football. Like in this Thor Nystrom fueled JJ McCarthy echo chamber, like with the highlights from the one game. So we're banking on this hope that JJ McCarthy will turn turn into the dude we saw for a half hour last August. And we have that great hope. The rest of the national media doesn't give a shit. They're like, well, he's got to prove it first. And so that brings us to about an 8.5, win total. I trust the roster construction. I think they'll beat the 8.5 win total. I don't think that McCarthy will have 36 touchdowns and 4,020 passing yards or 4,200 passing like Darnold. That would be magnificent. But generally speaking, it's at the quarterback one position. The national viewpoint just sees an unknown who's 22 years old, and he's not going to get a 9.5 win total just because he's cool, has cool hair, Yeah,
sometimes I think I'm too close to it because people walk up to me and be like, so what are the Vikings going to do at quarterback? And I'm like, obviously they're going to go with, the first round pick from last year that only won a championship in college football. Like, that's duh. Like, that's what's going to happen. You wouldn't ask Bears fans what they're going to do at quarterback. So I think I'm too close to it, and I'm too, like you said, we're in the echo chamber. So maybe we do have to take a step back and be like, okay, we should be lowering our expectations for this a little bit.
I'm personally fine with no national media attention. I think a lot of us are. The less primetime games, the less people talking about them, I think that bodes well for us.
Yeah. The Vikings give us as much excitement on game day as we need with our our heart health every fourth quarter, which has been the case for, I don't know, it feels like since I've been a fan, not even just KOC or Mike Zimmer. So, yeah, we don't need the ESPN talking heads making our heart ache even more. So,
well, I also feel like it's honestly just annoying when they do, because they say so many things that are inaccurate as well. Like, not intentionally, it's just because they only half pay attention. I remember there were so many things that they said last year when I would actually want to watch it because I would want to see the highlights and I would just be like infuriating, wanting to pull my hair out. I remember one thing specifically was they said, oh, well, this is all going to come down to how Sam Darnold is going to perform in cold weather. We didn't have a single cold weather game on the schedule, like not a single one. I'm like, did you even look at the damn schedule? Like, the coldest place he's playing is Seattle, and that's going to be like 50 degrees.
Yeah,
so
I think
they dumb stuff all the time.
I think another one, was it Stephen A. Smith at one point said, oh, Sam Darnold hasn't had a 300-yard game in like 5 months, and like literally 4 days before that, he had his like third straight 300-yard games.
Absolutely.
I think what happens for some of those pundits is, we, whether it's podcasts or writing, we cover a very specific team with a 53-man depth chart, whereas pundits have 32 teams in multiple sports. So right now, if somebody was on somebody asked me, what do you think about the Pittsburgh Steelers defensive tackles? I'd be like, well, Hayward's awesome. They have a rich history. I would bullshit a little bit, but it would be generally true. And I think that is how some of the national pundits get their foot in their mouth, is because they'll make sweeping generalizations about, well, Minnesota, that's cold, right? Well, they're going to have to play some cold games at some point, right? Darnold's going to have to live up to those, right? And it's just not true.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, hopefully they live up to what they did in 24 in 25. That'd be and better. Yeah, I hope we don't have a one and done playoff game again. Make a deep run. That'd be great. But Evan, you said his name, the name that shall not be said. Sal, I think you said it a minute ago. And Sal and Dustin, you guys last week on your show talked about the QB2 position for the Vikings. And I think, Sal, you even said like, well, I don't want to talk about Rodgers too much. But you tossed his name around once or twice. But what I want to know, not even Aaron Rodgers, but who is the QB2 QB2 signing that would break Vikings Twitter the most?
Well, I personally, what would break me personally would be Kirk Cousins, which I'm very annoyed I'm very annoyed that that's back in the news. Dustin, I saw it on Vikings territory today as like number 2 trade possibility, and then obviously I saw Schefter's comments on it and stuff. That's what would break me personally. However, and I thought it was off the table because of the roster bonus that he got 2 weeks ago or whatever the case was. However, earlier that week, I actually did a poll that was, hey, which of these would you rather have? A real Sophie's choice. Would you rather have Aaron Rodgers or would you rather have Kirk Cousins? And Kirk
That's
Cousins.
so tough.
I thought it was really tough. Like when I got asked in the chat of my show, I was like, ooh. And then I really thought about it for like 10 seconds and I came up with Aaron Rodgers. However, I want to say the results were about maybe 60% would want Kirk Cousins, or it might have even been higher. It was definitely overwhelming that the fan base on Twitter and Instagram would rather have Kirk Cousins. So I think it would be Aaron Rodgers that, based on my limited scientific research, that would break them. But I think ultimately either one would. Either one would. I mean, how broken was Vikings Twitter like at least the last 2 years of Kirk Cousins on the team? So
I would argue it's still currently broken, but yes, I agree.
yeah.
Let's see. So in addition to Kirko, that would break Vikings Twitter. Even like a guy that respected Kirk for his 6 seasons, I don't want him back because I want to look towards the future. It's the whole reason I don't want Rodgers. I don't want to look back at dudes in their 40s and late 30s. I want to put all of our energy into the 22-year-old. Additional dudes that could break it would be Case Keenum. Because he is actually a reasonable option and would be a good QB. He would be a good QB too. Fans, but like the old time fans would be like, oh yeah, I remember that Case Keenum. So Sally and I talked about that a couple of days ago. Teddy Bridgewater, if he didn't go back and coach the high school, if he'd be QB2. So we're looking at reunion angles there. Yeah. And then other than those, I mean, Drew Lock wouldn't break Twitter. It'd be cool. Ryan Tannehill won't break Twitter. We've already talked about it enough. I think the only other one would be a snazzy trade for somebody like in August if the Colts decide Anthony Richardson's not their guy and they're going with Daniel Jones. Getting a dude that has a supreme upside that would cook with Kevin O'Connell. It'd be a trade for somebody like that or Will Levis that would probably break. But again, these are all secondary conversations to J.J. McCarthy, we think, ascending to his QB1 throne.
Yeah, that's why I said QB2, because at least I think in both of our minds, I think it should be the initial thought on everybody's mind is it may not be tattooed in, but J.J. McCarthy is at least penciled in at QB1. I'm pretty sure.
When you said break Twitter, I didn't necessarily think that meant a bad thing. I just meant like like a rim rattling thing. So that's why I had Case Keenum in there.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, yeah. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, I guess, would be then taken out of that convo because he ain't signing up to play QB2. So that would be a non-factor, obviously. And as far as breaking Twitter, I mean, that makes sense now, Dustin, that you clarify that, because I think that Case Keenum would be just those, we see them all when we go to US Bank Stadium and we look around. It's the ones that don't necessarily know what's going on and remember Case Keenum and the miracle, and they remember that season. And so I could see if JJ were potentially struggling because they're familiar with the name, them wanting him to come in. I don't think they'd feel that way about Teddy, to be honest, but I would like Teddy as a backup quarterback because of his success in coaching. I think that obviously proves that he's a good communicator, that he's a good motivator. Not that a backup quarterback's role is being a motivator, but he obviously has shown from taking that team. I mean, how were they winless the year before he took over to go into a state championship? Yeah. He knows how to communicate, and that could definitely be an asset to working with JJ, whether that's in the film room, whether that's on the field. And I think that would be a great asset.
Yeah, I feel like as far as breaking Twitter, you guys hit the nail on the head. I think if it wasn't Rodgers, if it wasn't Cousins, I think Case Keenum, like you said, Sal, there are still people that get on there and are still saying, like, I think they need to go get Keenum. They've been saying it for years. Like, why do we trade for Josh Dobbs? Keenum's right there. Like, let it go, guys. It was years ago. It's like the people that can't get over their high school sweetheart. Like, it's okay. That was a fun year. It was awesome, but it's not what you think it would be. I don't know who would break it. I think, it would be Rodgers or, man, I hope it's not Cousins. If they traded for Cousins, that would be crazy. But it would definitely break Vikings Twitter for sure.
Yeah, I think Cousins would kind of fill the similar role to what Sally was saying with Teddy of like the coach role. He might not be the right fit, but he might be that guy that could, he wants to start. We know that Kirk wants to be the guy on the field. He doesn't want to be the guy with the headset on the sideline. But I mean, I don't know. I was saying that when he got injured, when he tore his Achilles last year. Thought, well, sure enough, we'll see him on the sideline with a headset, and then we didn't see him on the sideline with the headset. We saw him on the beach in Florida crawling into the ocean. So
I personally haven't seen any evidence of the same communication skills or style that I was just describing from him. He's kind of a stick in the mud. I can't really see him putting himself out there frequently and being like, hey man, let me show you this skill, or let me teach you this in a different way. I think he's also a little bit more uptight and not right. I don't know the guy. These are just what I pick up on body language and communication style.
Maybe I'm a little more idealistic with Kirk Cousins. Like, oh, he's a good guy. He'd come around and put his arm around JJ and be like, here you go. This is what you need to know to be a starter in this league. I don't know.
Did we see him ever like chit chatting with Kellen Mond? I mean, we know he was.
Hey, Kellen Mond is having some crazy success in the UFL right now. I think he almost had 170 yards passing the other day.
Yeah, good for him.
All right. Well, we're winding down here. We've got a couple more questions for you guys. So last week on our episode, Austin and we tossed around some of the most Vikings things ever, and that was kind of inspired by Leighton Glodek. We had him on the show about a month ago, and he threw out some scenario, and he was like, it would be the most Vikings thing ever if... Then he kind of filled in that blank, and that kind of got the light bulb turned on for us of like, oh, we could toss around some ideas. We've got countless examples of the most Vikings things ever that have happened in even recent history, but all of Vikings history. I mean, we're talking like Blair Walsh missing the field goal. We're talking the 41
donut in 2001.
41 donut. All sorts of. These would be the most Vikings things ever. Even Gary Anderson missing the kick in the 98 championship game. What's your guys' favorite most Vikings things ever?
All right. Well, I'm not taking the bait here. I'm not going to go all negative because we could do a 5-hour show on bad things that have happened to the Vikings and calling them our favorite when I still hate them to death. So I have two favorite Vikings things ever that I'm going to spin positively. The first one is, with a few exceptions, the Vikings' knack for drafting wide receivers. We just know that outside of Laquan Treadwell, if they're going to draft a wide receiver, they're going to do it better than almost anybody else in the world. I'll give you an example. During the 2023 preseason, 3 or 4 months prior, the Vikings had drafted Jordan Addison. We were watching, I think it was a game against Seattle. He had a tiptoe catch that they didn't count. But that's all we needed to see. We saw that catch. We were like, we've done it again, boys. Turn off the TV. We found our next guy. I love that the Vikings are the team that just find wide receivers. Percy Harvin, Randy Moss, Chris Carter, Jake Reed, Anthony Carter, Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson. That's not normal for a franchise. So the fact the Vikings are able to find them with multiple general managers, I love it. My second favorite Vikings thing ever is... when shit gets bad, a la losing your best player in Justin Jefferson in 2023 or Christian Darrisaw last year, they go on a win streak. It happens like clockwork. We joked about it when Jefferson got hurt against the Chiefs in October, I think, 2023. Boom, they won, 5 in a row. Darrisaw gets hurt at Los Angeles. I was there at the game. Face mask was missed. I tweeted, this is some Viking shit. They're going to start winning games because their franchise cornerstone left tackle's out. Boom, they won 7 or 8 games in a row. So that's another one of my favorite Vikings thing ever is when the rest of the world panics about, oh my God, we lost Kirk Cousins for the season. Usually it turns into some win streak and it like Josh Dobbs mania. It's really weird how it happens.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay, Dustin. Well, just to pony off that really quick. First of all, Laquan Treadwell has had a 10-year career.
True. I can't believe it.
And you didn't mention Cordero, but he's had what?
Ooh, yeah.
9-year career?
Yeah, he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
He's still playing, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
I mean, he looks like a tight end, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, so just I know you didn't mention Cordero, but just because those two didn't work out, I mean, they technically did still work out. The only one who I can think of that didn't work out is our guy.
Mm-hmm.
Troy Williamson.
Correct.
And nothing, he's actually me and Dustin's like favorite interview of all time. Believe it or not. Troy Williamson. Yeah. Yes, absolute favorite, hands down. And we've interviewed Randy Moss, so.
Yeah, like 4 years ago last night, actually.
Oh, was it? Oh, man. I should look it up. Okay, so you guys, I got to peep the list for like 2 seconds before I got on.
Yeah, I forgot to send it to her.
My mind always goes negative first. It does. That's just a default of mine. And since I didn't have much time to think about this, I don't even want to say it out loud, to be honest with you. I really don't even want to say it out loud. The what's coming to mind, but I really don't want to say it. But you guys can probably figure it out.
Oh, there's so many things that have been the most Vikings things ever that were negative. I honestly can't figure out exactly which one.
I'm going to get slaughtered. I mean, just basically the first, finally get to draft a QB in the first round, and it's not great. It doesn't end up great. See, I don't want to say it. But we haven't had any luck with that. Ever. And obviously that's the biggest talking point right now. So that would be mine. Also, well, never mind. I don't want to, and it's sometimes knee stuff. Obviously Christian Ponder wasn't a knee. That was a lot of, who knows? What actually, did we ever find out what that was? Just a lack of skill overall?
Oh, yeah. Christian, well, there's a faction of Vikings Twitter that will still say that he's the best. I think they're joking, but they're still saying he's the best quarterback in history. And yeah, I don't get it because he was awful.
Who are you guys following?
Troll account.
We are deep into Vikings Twitter.
Pasta.
You got Case Keenums. You got Christian Ponders. This is absurd. I have not seen this. I must have all these people like muted or something.
Probably.
So that's what's coming to mind, unfortunately. Yeah, Christian Ponder, I think maybe he had different priorities. I don't think he had the greatest support staff. And that whole draft ended up being a mess of quarterbacks, other than Andy Dalton. So,
I think Blaine Gabbert is a Super Bowl winner, is he not?
Is he?
As a QB2 at the most.
What team? San Fran?
Actually, no. I think he's a Super Bowl loser. I think Sal. I think he was with San Fran. Okay. But yeah, that's the other. Was Bortles? That wasn't the Bortles draft, was it?
Yes.
I don't think it was. Was it?
Jake Locker, wasn't it? Locker, Bortles. Who did we just say? I already forgot.
Gabbert.
It appears Gabbert is a 2-time Super Bowl champion.
Is he? Okay.
2020 Bucks and 2023 Chiefs.
Okay. All right. Well, that's not who I was thinking, but I'm glad to know I was accidentally right there.
I believe it was all of those because I think that's pretty much when I said, hey, I'm done getting deep into the draft and my research because I spent so much damn time on those quarterbacks. And then look, all of them fucking sucked. Jake Locker, Blaine Gabbert, Christian Ponder, and then we had Andy Dalton in the second round, who was the only one who even who's still in the league.
Oh yeah, that's true. He re-signed with Carolina. Dustin, I think you had a famous tweet from last year right after Sam Darnold signed, and you said, it's just gonna be like the Vikings, where Sam Darnold is gonna be too good that JJ McCarthy's not gonna be able to crack the lineup because Sam Darnold's too good. That would be the most Vikings thing ever. So that's kind of what I think about.
We were gonna divide into camps. Yep. Mm-hmm. That's what we did.
Yeah. That's almost a pinnable tweet for you because you were dead right on that.
Is it better than me predicting Darnold was going to the Seahawks on February 2nd?
Those are pretty close to each other.
Yeah.
Especially because the Seahawks at the time still had Geno Smith.
Yeah, so. Kubiak was hired. That's what inspired the tweet because I was like, I bet you that son of a bitch thinks Darnold's good from the 49er days. And then he did. And then like 2 days later, they came out and said Geno Smith's our guy. And I was like, oh, there goes my prediction. And then it came true like 5 weeks later.
That is wild.
Just 5 weeks later.
Mm-hmm.
That is wild.
All right. Well, both of you are frequent attenders of Vikings games. Dustin, I know you're a season ticket holder. Sal, I don't know. Are you a season ticket holder?
I am not. I just roll by the seat of my pants usually every morning on the Ticketmaster app. Or last year, I was actually very blessed. Last year, many I was invited to be a guest several times. So,
Nice.
but I'm almost always there unless the price is just absurd.
Yeah. Well, because you guys are usually there, we're like 6 hours away. So we're not, at the most, we get to like one game a year. But because you guys are usually there, you guys might have the opportunity to participate in some tailgates. Sal, I know you're a frequent tailgater. This one's just for fun. It's all just for fun. But what makes up the perfect tailgate?
You want to take this one, Dustin? Because I'm kind of the expert here, so you might want to.
Yeah, so
fill in your little bit of knowledge.
You're asking me this at the wrong time of my life. I'm 41. I'm an alcoholic, but I'm sober for 12 and a half years. So yeah, back in the day, I would have probably blacked out before the game even started because that's what I would do. So now my prerequisite for a tailgate is what Sally does. It has to be family friendly because I'm bringing my today is my son's half birthday, April Fool's Day. Yep, he is 8.5, so he usually comes with and dances around. They do the Thunderstruck drinking game, and he usually drinks like a Diet Pepsi or something. So it is what makes a good tailgate is the hospitality from folks like Sally, where you can meander around the whole Vikings tailgate section, and you just feel like you're at home because that's why folks do it, is to be nice to others. So that's a really boring dad answer, but it is folks welcoming my family as if it were just me personally.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so Dustin is actually the owner of my tailgate spot, believe it or not, little known fact. And even if I don't go to the Vikings game, I do always have a tailgate. I have a TV set up and stuff like that. So I'll occasionally watch the game outside. Tailgating, I don't know. I'm contemplating hanging it up, honestly. But tailgating is really a big deal for me because people were so welcoming. I moved here 10 years ago from Richmond, Virginia. And that was obviously a huge move for me. I moved because I'm a Vikings fan, and I just had so much FOMO from not being able to go to games. And I had met so many cool people from Vikings Twitter. And when I would come here, people made me feel so welcome and like I belonged here at tailgates and stuff. And the last couple years that I didn't have my own tailgate, I was with people who were not that way, who were very standoffish and who would like scold me for like bringing somebody by and giving them a beer despite me bringing my own drinks. And so it was embarrassing to me because as many people who recognize me from the internet or say hi to me from Twitter and stuff, like anyway, it was mortifying. So getting my own spot was really important to me. And it's really important to me to make anybody feel welcome, even if I don't know you or anything like that. So I just want anybody to feel like they're at home at US Bank Stadium and pay it forward for those people who did that for me. As far as what makes a good tailgate, I think my personal favorite thing about it is a great after party. That's something I'm very passionate about. No one has an after party, which I don't understand. Like, we don't get the opportunity to have these all that often. And so I love being one of the very few people that host those.
Does a loss immediately kill the idea of an after party?
Not for me anymore. I think because now I have adopted the mindset in the last couple years, especially since COVID, that I wouldn't know any of these people. I wouldn't have the life that I have right now. I wouldn't be talking to you guys. I wouldn't know Dustin. I wouldn't have the amazing circle of friends that I have if it wasn't for this team bringing me together with them. And I'm to the point where I will not let this team, no matter how ugly the loss is, ruin these moments for me. So if anything, which is crazy if you guys would have known me back in the day, I'm kind of like trying to raise people's spirits, if anything. And, maybe I'll play a couple depressing songs like Third Eye Blind Jumper, or, like let's embrace this feeling, but let's not let it ruin our night. Let's enjoy our time together.
Yeah, that's awesome. I guess, is US Bank the best tailgate scene, or have you been to better spots? Where are they?
It's probably the worst, to be honest with you.
Oh, no.
Probably the worst, in my opinion. I mean, there's so many that are better. I mean, they're pretty much all better that I've ever been to. Kansas City is amazing. Green Bay, hate to give them any compliments, but they're amazing and actually very welcoming and very kind. The Bengals are awesome. I I haven't experienced much at Carolina or Baltimore is pretty good. I mean, Minnesota, they're very small. So because they decided to keep the stadium downtown and it's such a bigger footprint than the Metrodome was, there's not a lot of room. Plus, the real estate, they pretty much sold it all. So there's very little to choose from. And a lot of people just park there and don't tailgate. So, I mean, I would say, mine, there's a corner of my parking lot that's pretty decent, but it's pretty chill in comparison.
Usually when you go to a road game and you're in the business of tailgating, there is an absolute sea of designated humanity. Whereas if you're going to a Vikings game, you have to figure out, like, whoa, where can I go? And then you'll walk around, you'll stumble into, like, kind of fragmented tailgates going on, and you're like, am I supposed to be here or not? But if you go to, like, Miami, even though I don't think they were the cream of the crop, or San Francisco, Santa Clara, you go and it's like 20 times the size of the Vikings allotment, and so it just feels like more of a organized endeavor. But to Sally's point, it's all because of the geographical, I guess, zoning that's been allocated to US Bank. I think I guess we're biased because of Vikings fans, but I think the culture that I see at the Vikings tailgate is fantastic. But if you're talking about, like, schematics, the other places have us beat.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I will say, I feel like, and I mean, maybe I don't know, I shouldn't be shitting on it, but I feel like other places I go, they're much more like, hey, you want to come grab something to eat? Like, I don't even know you, but hey, I don't witness that as much at ours, but I've been hosting now for 3 years, so I don't walk around much anymore. So I don't know. And like I said, all thanks to Dustin. His name was on the deed. So I think I got signed as a co-owner eventually this year, but
I think the only other stadium I've experienced any kind of tailgate scene was Arrowhead, and their whole footprint is like an island. You're not accidentally by that stadium. You have to purposely go there, and it's like a mile or 2 or 5 that you have to walk from the edge of the parking lot just to get to the stadium. So it's pretty well set up for tailgating. But Vikings, US Bank is in downtown. The stadium is just another building with everything else. So I could see how that could be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one way in and one way out to Arrowhead. So that, and they take a lot of pride on it. And I mean, it's definitely. I mean, every stadium has a different feel for sure. And a lot of the ones that are more corporate. I mean, I don't know if corporate is the right word, but a lot of them have things you can pay for that it's like, oh, $50 and you can go eat all you want and drink all you want, or things like that. I've definitely seen that at the Ravens games or Panthers games. Maybe even Seahawks. I don't know. Seahawks didn't have much going on when I went there either, but that was a Monday night. If you go to a Vikings game on a prime time, don't expect anything. It's going to be real bleak.
Really?
Which I don't understand. It should be the opposite, but
all day.
Yeah. You would think so, but
all right, Evan, you got anything else before we start wrapping everything up?
No. This has been awesome, though. We really appreciate you guys coming on.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. We'll go in order. Dustin, you've plugged a bunch of things on our show, but as always, we want to give you the opportunity. Where can people find you? What are you working on that you're proud of, that you want people to see? Plug yourself. What do you got going on?
VikingsTerritory.com is where I write, along with Adam New from England, Ted Schwarzler, who crosses over from Minnesota Twins fandom. Tony Schultz is a newcomer. He used to do a radio show in southeast Minnesota. So it's all these other guys that we write about the Vikings pretty much all damn day. And this last month was the most exciting time to do it because of free agency and roster construction. But a close consolation prize is draft time, because this draft is so unpredictable. Usually we know going into a draft, like, oh my God, they need a cornerback. Jeez. Mm-hmm. But right now, almost every position, we're like, that can work. So we're going to go into that Thursday night thinking, God, who is it going to be? Is it going to be a safety, a running back? Anything can happen. So that's my plug, VikingsTerritory.com, and the sister site, PurplePTSD.com.
Awesome. Sal, where can people find you? What are you working on?
Well, let's see. Like I said, I've got Vikings First and Skol network that's on YouTube, which is where I work with Tyler Fornes and Dave. And then what I'm really trying to grow right now actually is the TikTok. So that's Sal_Spice. That's what I'm trying to focus on right now. And doing some TikTok lives and stuff like that. That's the most lucrative of the platforms, as you may know. So that's what I'm trying to get up. And then I just have to have the underscore on there, because somehow there's another Sal Spice in this world. that got it before me. So
Interesting.
yeah, who the heck is she? I don't know. But and then Instagram and Twitter and Blue Sky, all Sal Spice.
Awesome. Well, we'll do our best to try to tag everything and everywhere for both you guys. We really appreciate every time we have any visitors, but especially you guys. Thank you so much for coming on, giving us your takes. You guys, open door policy if you ever want to come back on. Again, like I always say, not that you don't have 1,000 other routes to talk about the Vikings anywhere else, but if you want to come on and talk to us again, we welcome you guys back anytime. Thank you guys so much for coming and talking to us.
Hell yeah, hit me up the Tuesday or whatever before the draft, okay?
Perfect.
Yeah,
right.
I would love to be back, and you guys will have to do my show sometime as well. So
Perfect. Yeah, that'd be great.
Sounds good.
all right, thanks guys.
See ya.
Thanks. All right. Well, that was an awesome conversation with Dustin and Sally. We got to bring Sally Spice on for the first time. Super cool, super fun, and got to ask him some good questions and got some really good responses. Had a good conversation.
Yeah, I had a blast. I loved that it was pretty clear that you and Sal kind of differed on the whole Kirk Cousins opinion. Not enough that you were arguing with each other, but yeah, it was good conversation. Skol Hoppers, if for some crazy reason you know about us, you follow us, and you don't know about Dustin or Sal Spice, follow those guys, subscribe to their stuff. We will do our best to tag everything of theirs below. Specifically, what is it? The Scolders and Spice, I think, is what Sal hosts her YouTube show. Obviously, Dustin's on Vikes Now and Vikings Territory. Go check them out. They're fantastic content creators, and we loved having them on tonight. I think we would definitely welcome both of them on any other time, in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think about this Wild Eddy?
It's a fantastic beer. I actually have a little bit more of this beer than I thought I did, which gets me really excited. Big Grove, I think I said it last week. I've said it countless times. I have yet to have a bad beer from Big Grove. I have yet to have a beer that isn't even my kind of beer from Big Grove. All they do is put out great stuff. Again, thank you, Big Grove. You guys provided 4 6-packs for us. Mm-hmm. I mean, getting anything from a brewery, especially as good as Big Grove, is awesome. But yeah, thank you, Big Grove, for providing that for us. And awesome. It's the cherry on top that it's actually really good too, and we don't have to lie about oh yeah, this is really good when it's not. This Wild Eddy's great.
I'd like to think we put out some really good stuff too. Where can people find our stuff?
As far as our content, we're everywhere. Social media, just search The Skol Hop. That's where we are. Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Instagram, TikTok. We're trying to grow everything. YouTube for sure, Spotify, however you're listening to us right now. It would actually be interesting. I'm kind of interested to see, I know that our podcast is out on Apple Podcast and Spotify and even YouTube, but is somebody out there listening on Amazon Music or something, something I wouldn't normally think about. So if you are, let us know. Send us an email. We do have an email address, theskolhop@gmail.com. Send us an email. Let us know how you're listening to us and what you like about us, because obviously you like us, right? And email specifically, we've still got it going on. If you send us an email and you want us to, we will send you a sticker. We got a couple different designs. They're pretty sweet.
Yeah, they're in here somewhere. Anyways, really good beer tonight.
Fantastic beer.
Really good episode hanging out with Sal Spice and Dustin Baker. Maybe best episode yet.
Maybe.
Skol.
Skol.